Alright, what is up guys? So this is video 3 of 5 in my series on my family's 30 divorces. Before I start talking about drugs and alcohol, I want to start with this video on the topic of body count. I'm bringing back this topic. A lot of people won't like it, especially a modern young woman, but it's extremely important for you to hear this. But I just want to say that the reason why my family has been extremely destructive, well, I would say the number one reason is because most of my family, my mom, my sister, my cousins, many of my aunts, my step aunts, my family relatives, they all have insane body counts, okay? I'm sorry to say, but that's just reality, and I want to make something clear. So people have made comments in my past videos saying that, oh my god, how come your mom has been divorced 3 times? No, my mom has been divorced 6 times, okay? 6. On top of that, she's probably been on over 200 first dates. She's had many summer flings, situationships, friends with benefits, and my sister went through the exact same process. My stepmom, her sister, and her cousins, and many of my aunts, they went through the exact same process, okay? The reason why there has been so many divorces in my family is because these people, they keep getting serial divorced. I mentioned this before, okay? There needs to be a law that needs to be put in place. You only get to get married once in your lifetime. If you choose to get divorced, I can't stop you, but you should never, ever be allowed to get married again because you will get divorced again and again and again. Remember I mentioned before, divorce statistics, okay? First marriage, 40% divorce rate. Second marriage, 80%. Third marriage, 95%. That is 100% guaranteed. When you get divorced, right, unless as a single mother you choose to be celibate for the rest of your life, which I highly doubt that is ever going to happen. Think about what is that going to do to your children, okay? Listen, being raised by a single mother is a death sentence for a young man. Because think about it, every time you go to school, kids are going to bring that up. Oh, dude, my uncle your mom last night. Oh, dude, my dad's mechanic told me he mom up the last night. He came all over her face. We're talking about a reverse cowgirl. We're talking about a missionary. And for all the ladies out there saying that your body count doesn't matter, if think about it, okay? If you find a dream guy that doesn't care that you've slept with 125 men, okay? You guys get married. Think about on your wedding day, couple of bachelors shows up. They tell your husband, dude, I used to your wife every single day, man. We're talking S&M. We're talking doggy style. We're talking a deep. Do you not see the issue of that? Okay, this is why every single guy out there that's out there looking for a wife will care about a woman's past. Okay, why would a high status man, let's say that's 6 feet making 6 figures, he's got a 6-pack and he's packing 6 inches, okay, why would he buy a car with 300,000 miles on it when he can just buy a brand new car? See, when you buy a used banged up car, you're also responsible for all of the damages that has incurred on that car over the years by the previous drivers. So why aren't black kids graduating high school in America? Why are record number of black men dropping out of school? Why are record number of black men committing suicides? Why are record number of young black men becoming drug dealers, raging alcoholics, and intravenous drug users? There's a reason for that. Because these young black men, they don't want to go to school. Because every single time they go to school, that shit comes up, okay? Oh, dude, my uncle your mom last night. Every single day. That's what I have to put up with every single day while I was growing up. Do you guys not see the direct connection? I dropped out of school. My older sister, who was also raised by a single mother, she dropped out of school. My cousin that ran away from home, that was abandoned by both her parents, she also dropped out of school. And she also attempted to run away from home. She also attempted suicide many times. My older cousin that stabbed multiple people at a nightclub that went to jail, he was also raised in a single mother home, okay? This is not a coincidence, okay? Everything in this world happens for a reason. And when these young men, where they're being raised by single mothers who are actively dating, who are actively having sex with other men, okay? This is going to create chaos for their sons in their social life, in their school life, okay? In their work life. And every time they have to put up with this kind of shame and humiliation, okay, these men, they ended up not going to school. They end up not going to work. They end up dropping out. They end up losing their employment. And what does this kind of system create? It creates a generational poverty. And imagine what happens when you create a society with a bunch of broke-ass young men who are looking for guidance, but there's nobody there to help them. There are only 2 scenarios for these young men out there. Either they become extremely depressed, extremely lonely, or they're going to be extremely violent. And to all the women out there that's saying that, oh, what about a guy's body count? Listen, a guy sleeping around is 100% different versus a woman sleeping around. Okay, any woman out there, okay, if they wanted to, you can have sex with Tom Cruise, okay, with Tom Hemsworth, with Denzel Washington, with Michael B. Jordan, with Messi, with Ronaldo, okay? Okay, that is not an accomplishment. However, for a guy to get laid, he must be able to provide something. And for example, just look at me. Do you think there's any chance for me to go out there and have a one night stand with Olivia Rodrigo or Anna de Armas or Victoria Justice or Madison Beer or Black Widow? Do you guys not see how ridiculous that is? Okay, for a man to be able to get a woman, okay, if he's not a 6'5" Chad that's the captain of the basketball team, the only other option for that guy is that he has to become successful socioeconomically. He has to be able to provide financially, or that guy is guaranteed to die alone. Okay, ladies, every single guy that you had sex with, every single guy that you dated was better than you. Either they're taller than you, they're more attractive than you, they make more money than you, they have a higher IQ than you, they're more competent than you, they have a higher socio and economic status than you. That's why you let those guys hit it. Ladies, would any of you have a one night stand with a 5'3" cashier that works at McDonald's? Would any of you guys have a one night stand with a 5'4" immigrant from El Salvador that washes dishes at Denny's for $12 an hour? Okay? Would any of you guys marry a guy that's 5'5" that works at Trader Joe's making $25,000 a year? Let's be honest, okay? You complain about the wage gap. You complain about the man making way too much money. You complain about the patriarchy. Yet every single modern woman, okay, when they're out in the dating market, they all say the same thing. I want a competent man. I want a man that can lead in a relationship and a marriage. I want a man that makes $100,000 a year. I like men who are professors. I like engineers. I like doctors. I like lawyers. I like CEOs. I like millionaires. They all want to wait at the finish line. Ladies, starting from your teenage years, you can have sex with anyone that you want to. However, here's the $1 billion question. So you can have sex with anybody you want to, right? However, which guy is going to want to marry you? That's the question you need to ask yourself. And this is why in America today, young men are 12 times as likely versus young women to be incarcerated. This is also why young men in America today are 6 times more likely to commit suicide versus young women. This is also why 75% of all children dropping out of school are raised by single mothers. This is also why over 90% of children who run away from home are raised by single mothers. None of these are accidents. And remember, ladies, I can't stop you, but if you as a single mother choose to do OnlyFans to make a living, you have just sentenced your son to death, because there's no way in hell he can survive in the modern world. Just imagine when your son gets to 12, 13 years old, when all the young men in the school starts to watch porn. What do you think that's gonna happen? This is the worst time in the history of humanity to be a man, especially to be a young man, because a single mother homes was never a thing. Divorce was never a thing. I mentioned before, divorce in China was always legal since the founding of the People's Republic of China, okay? However, up until 1980, the divorce rate was only 2%. You guys want to know why? Because up until the 1980s, all the marriages in China were arranged by the father. The father of the daughter has to choose his future son-in-law. That's why almost every single marriage was stable. That's why none of them were chaotic. That's why none of them were toxic or abusive. Because a father knows exactly what he's looking for. He chooses that man based on his moral standings, based on the contents of his character. But however, look at what's happening today, okay? Ladies, you have 100% freedom to choose your future boyfriend, to choose your future husband. And look at the state of our society. You want to complain about the guy you're dating, the guy you're married to is a total asshole, he's a drug user, he's a raging alcoholic, he's an abuser. That's the guy you chose, okay? According to Pew Research in the United States right now, okay, between the ages of 18 to 30, over 60% of men are single. The majority of men, that's almost 2 out of 3, are single. It's you. You are choosing all the bad guys. And have you tried looking into your friend zone? What about the guy that you completely ignored? What about the guys you've rejected in the past? What about the guys that you have ghosted? Maybe you should start looking there. So the last time I returned to mainland China was for Chinese New Year's in 2017. So on the eve of Chinese New Year's, I had maybe roughly 5 to 6 beers. And after that, I decided to stay away from alcohol altogether. And I was introduced into alcohol at a very young age. And both of my parents, both have an exceptional tolerance to alcohol. I've seen my mom just sitting there chug away at a full case of beer. I'm talking about a 24 bottle case with ease, no problem at all. Honestly, I don't see any positives coming out of it. Throughout mankind's history, we're looking at what, 12,000 years, right, of modern humans. And every single bad decision made, there has been alcohol involved. I can guarantee you that. Same thing with my mom and my sister's divorces. My sister, she's has two failed marriages, and she's had many boyfriends along the way, and every single one of them failed miserably, and a lot of them had alcohol involved. I'll give you an example. The two of my sister's exes, these were short-term relationships. They never got married. Both my sister and her ex-boyfriend, they were mutually abusive to each other. And many years ago, this is before my sister's first marriage, she went out and partied like it's 1999, despite the fact that her boyfriend was warning her not to do this. He told her that we're in an exclusive relationship. It's not okay for you to go out on a Friday night and just get blackout drunk at a karaoke bar. When she returned home, she was extremely intoxicated. And obviously, her boyfriend wasn't happy. They got into an argument and punches were thrown. At first, my sister punched him. Then he hit her back and had sent her to the hospital and left her with multiple stitches. Many years down the road, almost the mere episode happened. Some people, they just don't learn a lesson. So my sister went out to a party. She got blackout drunk. But the thing is, her boyfriend during this time, he also returned home after a party. He was blackout drunk. They got into a huge argument and everything. My sister, her phone, her tablet, the TV screen in their apartment, there were punches being thrown on both sides, and my sister was nearly strangled to death. I'm not sure of the exact details, but she was lucky enough to just narrowly escape and to call the police. And this is what alcohol does to people. What kind of society do you think we live in that in order for you to have a good time, you have to be completely blackout drunk? The same thing happened with my dad. All of the abusive episodes that took place between my dad's failed marriage, his failed relationships, and the reason for me being kicked out, and everything that's happened, right? It's all after the consumption of alcohol. And, this is my final year at the university now. And I mentioned before, I was a previous dropped out many years ago. I've also been to college. So I've been in the post-secondary system in Canada for 7 years now. This is my 7th year. On top of that, there's 4 years of high school. It's unbelievable the amount of alcohol and the amount of illegal drugs you see on campuses. I'm not even talking about marijuana. I'm talking about really hardcore stuff. I'm talking about cocaine, heroin, roofies, even meth. Listen, 100% of the date rape that happens, it's because the involvement of alcohol. Over 90% of the rapes that happen on campuses, it's the direct result of alcohol consumption. And this is where things get tricky. This is where there's no black and white. Everything becomes gray. You want to talk about consent. I'm sorry, ladies. And I've seen so many men being falsely accused, right? And every time a woman comes forward about being raped, I always want to believe the woman first. But I've seen so many false accusations over the years. So sometimes what happens is a woman goes out and gets blackout drunk, decides to, become a whore for the night, and has a one-night stand, has a hookup with some frat boy, some musician, some guy who rode to town on a bicycle. The next day when she sobers up, she regrets it and she calls the police. She says, I'm being raped. This is where things get complicated. Do you not see the issue? There was that huge case back in UCLA many years ago. Eventually, in the end, the student was acquitted of all charges of rape. It's because the bar released the CCTV footage from the bar where this female student, very young, she was so inebriated and she was making all these gestures and she was literally grinding on this guy's dick the entire time. She was making out with him extremely aggressively and grabbing his arm, grabbing his legs, and even dragging him into her apartment. And the next day she wakes up and she regrets her decision. There's a phrase in China, okay? And it's called 可怜之人必有可恨之处. This roughly translates to the people that you feel sorry for, the people that you feel pity for these people. There must be a reason for you to hate them as well, okay? Listen, if a real rape happened, I believe that it is always the man's fault. I believe that man should be castrated like the Chinese eunuchs and being sent to the gulags. However, However, for example, like the cases with my sister, everybody was wanting her, especially in your relationship. It's not okay just to, on the weekends, to go out at a karaoke bar with your female friends when there's drunk, horny guys involved, and that for you to get blackout drunk. That is never okay. My sister's ex-boyfriends, they should have never ever laid hands on her. But she made the decision. She made that choice to go out there with her friends without her boyfriend to get blackout drunk. And these cases where there's domestic violence, in almost all of these cases, it's a mutually abusive. Ladies, if you don't want your man to hit you, you should never ever hit your man. Right? If all of your friends warned you, ladies, to not go to the bar at 11 p.m. on Friday night, to not get blackout drunk, to have a backup plan, like how are you going to get home safely? And then if all these people, all your friends and family relatives warned you about the drunk, horny dudes that wants to make a move on you, they just want to go in, they want to pump and dump. That's all they're looking for. They just want the cookie. And you ignored all of their warnings. They said, oh, I want my hot girl summer. I'm a 20-year-old. I want to go out there and just live my life and have fun. And you end up meeting a group of thugs, and they drag your drunk body into a dark alley, and you end up getting. Whose fault is it really? Really think about this, ladies, okay? Honestly, I'm not telling you to quit drinking, but you have to really, really be careful of the environment that you're associating yourself with. Because throughout my life, and I've seen so many relationships and marriages go downhill because of the involvement of alcohol. So many people, they just have zero control. Listen, you can live an amazing life without ever messing yourself up on illegal drugs, without ever having to smoke marijuana, without a single drip of alcohol. That's the one thing I've always respected about Donald Trump. Doesn't matter what you say about him. The man has never touched alcohol during his entire lifetime because he lost his brother to alcohol, and he told him that never ever get started, because if you don't start, there's no craving, there's no addiction. I've never done any kind of drugs in my life. I've never smoked weed. I've never smoked a single cigarette. No, I choose to quit drinking 7 years ago. And I don't do any kinds of gambling. I decided to come back to school. I decided to get myself in shape. I went from morbidly obese to making 2 varsity teams. I've completed 6 marathons and 20 half marathons. We're dealing with something that has never ever happened before in the history of humanity, because female sexual promiscuity has never ever been permitted throughout history by any civilization in any part of the world. But look at what happened since third wave feminism, okay, female sexual freedom, and look at the state of our society now. This series will continue on Friday. I will share some of the deepest and the darkest secrets of my family. This time I'm going to discuss more details about my mom's 6 divorces and the devastating consequences it has had on her life.